Good morning. I am 5 minutes earlier today. As always, if you're watching in recording, you're welcome to fast forward or stay with us through our hellos. As usual, I'm gonna check the sound now. Watching in record. Okay, the sound seems good. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Gina. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Cherry. Yay, happy to see you here live. Good morning, Sandra. All right, it is time for us to start. Yesterday, we started talking about perfectionism and how really unskillful it is because eventually perfect always becomes imperfect just because everything in life is always changing and flowing. Perfection is fragile. So when we engage in perfectionism, we essentially cultivate our own fragility instead of focusing on building up our resilience. If we stop setting impossibly high standards and punishing ourselves for failure, or more accurately, for what we perceive as failure, we can finally become free and much more available to life. Getting curious about the origin of our impossible perfectionistic standards is the first step to achieving more freedom from them. I have shared with you before that I consider myself a perfectionist in recovery because only until a few years ago I was totally imprisoned by these absolutely impossible standards I set for myself. Eventually, though, I figured out the origin of this, and it made my life much, much easier. I was able to let it go. But the origin was basically when I was 7 years old and we were practicing cursive writing at school. My mom decided to quote unquote help me. I put the word help here in quotation marks because actually her best intentions resulted in decades of suffering for me. What happened the days she set out to help me to do my cursive homework is this. I was with my workbook writing all the words we were supposed to write, and my mom was next to me reading a book. Once in a while, she would just glance over my shoulder, and if she found something that she did not deem perfect, she would just tear out the entire page from my workbook and direct me to do the same thing again. All of this in silence, by the way. No word was said. And as a result, I have an amazingly beautiful handwriting. And I spent over 30 years trying to set myself free from the confines of perfectionism that was instilled in those moments. So take a moment now to ask yourself, whose standards are you trying to meet by engaging in perfectionism, in self-criticism? Very often, just like in my case, it would be somebody in your family, or maybe a friend you're used to comparing yourself to, or that your parents compared you to. That could happen too. And if you cannot put a name to the source of your perfectionism, try examining the social messages that surround you. Have you somehow bought into this notion that you should be the perfect host, mother, father, son or daughter, partner, boss, employee, meditator, athlete, whatever it is? As soon as you begin to notice the messages you've internalized as distinct from you, from who you truly are, you can begin to set healthy boundaries. And then we can get even more curious by asking these questions. Do I actually agree with the expectations I'm setting for myself? Do they reflect my innermost values? Mindfulness allows us to balance our drive for self-improvement with a healthy skepticism about all these external standards. Do you, for example, really want to maintain a spotless home just like your late grandmother, or are you willing to let that go so that you can spend more relaxed, enjoyable time with your children? Loosening the grip of other people's goals lets you focus on what you love. And it doesn't mean that we have to become messy slobs and not care about anything at all. Of course not. Self-improvement, our wish to master something, our desire to achieve excellence are not the problem at all. As usual, the problem is how we approach everything. And perfectionism feels very, very different from wholesome pursuit of excellence. Think of something you've made an effort to master, whether it's lap swimming, getting higher grades, or gardening, or whatever it is for you. And then try to remember when you started feeling a strong inner push to do it. Did you take pleasure even when it was incremental? Did you take pleasure in making progress even though it was slow? Did you feel a strong desire to do it well even when you knew no one else would notice this? When we approach the journey acknowledging what we don't know and what we cannot control, we maintain our energy for the quest. We can sustain it. But self-criticism drains our energy. Perfectionism drains our energy. So perfectionism and excellence are not the same thing. Desiring to achieve excellence in something that we most care about, whether it's our work, relationships, or collecting butterflies, this can be a genuine act of self-love, but only if we're not fixated on the outcome of our efforts or on perfecting ourselves to be lovable. Fortunately, when we relate to ourselves with loving kindness, perfectionism just naturally drops away. We may realize we'll never sing an aria at the Met, but we can still continue to love opera, follow our favorite singers, or maybe even join a local chorus. Wholehearted acceptance is a basic element of love, a gateway to joy. Through the practices of loving kindness and self-compassion, we can learn to love our flawed and imperfect selves. And in those moments of vulnerability, we open our hearts to connect with each other as well. It's true, we're not perfect, but each and every one of you, each and every one of us, is enough. So let's do a practice together around that. Take a comfortable position, and as always, take a few moments to settle. Settle into your body, your mind, your heart. Settle into this moment, right here, right now. Allow your breath to be natural, not perfect. Don't worry about making it deeper, longer, or anything it's not. Just notice how this breath flows through your body and how your body responds to your breath. Allow all the experiences of the present moment to flow through you as energy with the spaciousness of your breath. No struggle. Now take a moment to reflect if there are any particular areas of your life where perfectionism emerges most often. Maybe it's your appearance, personality, job performance, social life, parenting. Again, whatever it is, just bring that to mind. And as you do this, notice how your body starts to feel. Are there any particular sensations that stand out? Any emotions that come up? Is there any anxiety around this wish to control the outcomes? And remember, it's all fine. Maybe remind yourself, how human of me. How human of me to forget that actually it's life that calls the shots. How human of me to want things to go or be just the way I want them to be, to comply with my perfectionistic standards. How human of me. Ask yourself, what would my life look like if I let go of these impossible standards for myself? How would I feel like if I allowed myself to let go? What would enough look like in these areas? And as you reflect on that, notice what starts happening in your body and in your emotional state. And now place your hands on your heart. Thank yourself for doing this work today. And send loving kindness to yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in body and mind. May I feel safe, protected, at ease. May I know deep, natural peace. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in body and mind. May I feel safe, protected, at ease. May I know deep, natural peace. And let's do it one more time. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in body and mind. May I feel safe, protected, at ease. May I know deep, natural peace. And now gently let go of the practice, and as usual, scan your body. Notice what's going on for you right now, physically, emotionally, mentally. How are you? As you go through your day today, I invite you to catch yourself in these moments of perfectionism, when this anxiety of wanting to control things arises. Just pause, take 3 mindful breaths, or maybe silently say to yourself, how human of me. And see if you can let go of these impossible standards. Let go to set yourself free to be who you really truly are, an imperfect human being, just like the rest of us. Imperfect, and yet completely, beautifully enough. Thank you so much for being here today. Have a gorgeous day, and I will see you tomorrow.